This is my book. I wrote The Great Escape. It's Charlie and Sophie's Great Escape. So the story is actually based on our real dogs. Charlie and Sophie, we adopted them from a rescue. And when they were puppies, they were full of curiosity. They were just so energetic, just like you guys, lots of energy and eager to learn. So we had lots of fun exploring the woods and the fields around our house. So this is Charlie. He's very curious, very, very smart. He wanted to be the first in everything. He listened well, but he wanted to be close to Sophie for companionship and support. Here's Sophie. She's very, very independent, good problem solver, and all the dogs knew that she was the boss. And she was very protective of Charlie because she was his older sister. So she took care of him, made sure that he was safe. So this is a story about my dogs, and it's based on something that happened on our farm. So it's a real story. So you ready to listen, to hear the story? All right. So Charlie and Sophie wait to go outside. It had been raining, but now the sun was out. See, she wanted to go outside and play. Tail wagging with excitement, Charlie circled around Nicky, and he bumped his chin when Nicky bent down to put on his boots. Nicky whistled to Sophie. Come on, it's time for a walk. Let's go. The soft the soft green grass tickled their legs, and Sophie always kind of stopped to taste some of the nice, tasty grass that was growing. But Charlie would always run on ahead. He wanted to be first on the trail. And he lifted his head and sniffed. He wanted to know who all the other animals were that had gone by this way. Then Charlie heard Nicky exclaim, I forgot my hat. Wait here. See, so he had to run back home to get his hat because it was sunny now. Impatiently, Charlie looked back to see the boy running towards the house. Adventure was right around the corner, and Charlie couldn't wait another minute. Bark, 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 he said to Sophie, and they both ran off into the woods. Can you say bark, bark?
Bark, bark. I'll do it. You
No, no, not yet. I'll wait next time. The trail was muddy and smelled of earthworms and wet leaves. Charlie bent down to sniff a turkey feather he found lying on the trail. Then his nose was tickled by another smell. A fox had also been. A deep chorus of bullfrogs echoed up from the beaver pond, waking the woods with a symphony of musical honks and croaks. Jabberwock, jabberwock, that's what the big bullfrog sounded. Charlie and Sophie stopped to listen. Somewhere overhead, a chickadee called, "Phoebe, Phoebe," and another answer floated down on the breeze. Phoebe, Phoebe. We're just exploring the woods. We're free. Suddenly, Sophie stopped and stared. There was a big brown deer hiding in the trees. They watched, pulled down a branch, and its ears were flicking back and forth as it chewed. Charlie moved closer, stepped on a twig. Snap! The deer barked a startled crack and bounded deeper into the woods, tail swishing in alarm. See it running away? Didn't like the dogs being so close. Sophie and Charlie took off on a wild deer chase. Yipping and barking, they ran after the deer. They skidded around trees, jumped over boulders, and splashed through muddy puddles. They would not let that deer get away. They were chasing. They ran and ran, but the deer was stronger and faster. He jumped over an old stone wall and disappeared. Charlie and Sophie finally gave up the chase, tongues hanging out, panting hard. Tired and thirsty, they needed a drink. You know, sometimes when you've been playing really hard, don't you get thirsty and hot? It's nice to have something cold to drink, right? No? No? Doesn't happen to you, not even in the summer? No? Sophie raised her nose and took a deep breath. The cool, mossy smell of mud and rotting leaves made her think of the beaver pond. She followed the scent, hoping to find a drink of water. Charlie trotted after her. That's Sophie. At the pond, Sophie noticed a little turtle sitting on a log sunning itself. She nudged it with her nose, and it slipped into the water. Then she dipped her head and lapped noisily. A smell caught Charlie's nose, and he sniffed. It was a strange bird smell, very strong. Quietly, he crept forward, and peeking between all these tall grasses, he saw a nest with 5 large eggs. The strange bird smell was very strong. Sophie followed as Charlie moved closer to investigate. Suddenly, honk! There was a giant, wings were flapping, and look who came. No, it was a big goose. It says honk, honk. They make a big sound, don't they? That's right.
I said honk.
Well, I should say clearly honk. Charlie jumped back in surprise. Water splashed, grasses tore and bent as the huge bird charged at him. Its broad, flat beak shot towards Charlie and nipped his ear. The goose screeched furiously as it chased the dogs away from its nest. Can you say this? What was the goose saying? Yes, very good. On. Good. Wait, and then you can say it again for me, okay? Sophie and Charlie dove into the water. The angry honks, scared barks, and loud splashes attracted other geese that were protecting nests nearby. Honking fiercely, the big bird started gliding rapidly towards the terrified dogs. Make that sound again.
Honk, honk.
Very good. Spluttering and gasping, Sophie and Charlie pawed at the slimy ground, trying to escape. Squelching through muddy, stinky mud, they clawed their way up the bank and started running. Where was Nicky? Where was home? They slowed to catch their breath, and panting, they stopped to listen. Now all was quiet. They started walking, sniffing the ground, looking for signs to find their way home. See how they...
sign?
What's the sign?
The mud. When they're walking, they can follow the way back.
Very good, that's right. Maybe they could find their muddy footprints, right?
And I saw some in the book.
Very good. You're paying attention, huh? So the woods were now getting dark and gloomy again. Storm clouds hid the sun, and the dogs shivered. A big raindrop landed on Charlie's head, and he whined. Sophie nudged him gently and licked his ear. They had to keep searching. They couldn't give up because they were lost in the woods. They had to get home before it started raining again, right? So, scrambling over a big pile of boulders, the dogs followed a narrow path in the woods. Climbing onto a big stone wall, Charlie looked around and it looked familiar. Reminded him of something. Do you know what he could think when he climbed up the wall? What do you think reminded him?
When he chased the deer.
Very good. That's right. He had this was the wall that the deer jumped over when it escaped. And the trail leading home was on the other side of the stone wall. So that was another sign, right? They recognized where they were. A faint smell of wood smoke tickled their noses. From far away, a voice was calling, Charlie, Sophie, where are you? Who do you think was calling them?
You.
Not me. Well, it could have been, but it was Nicky. Remember, he came back with his hat. The dogs were gone. They ran away. And so he'd been calling and looking for them, right? It was Nicky. The dog started running, following his voice. Charlie burst from the woods, and he saw their farmhouse across the field. He saw Nicky. So, Charlie flew towards him. Nicky turned just as Charlie launched himself in the boy's arms. They fell to the ground in a muddy, laughing heap. Sophie ran circles around them, barking happily, and Charlie licked Nicky's face. Curled up in front of the wood stove, Charlie and Sophie fell into a deep sleep. Their great escape was over, and they were home. Oh, thank you. You paid such good attention. So, what do you think Charlie and Sophie learned from their great adventure? You know, if they learned something, tell me.
They didn't run away, but
Very good. Yes. Yes.
want to listen like when someone says to like stop right there.
Very
Then
good.
stop and say they'll try to get something.
That's good. Yeah, because they told him, right? He said, wait right here.
They should not go so far in the woods. They should stay near the owners. Unless they say to stay right there.
That's right. See, they didn't listen and then they got lost. Now, do you think the geese were angry?
Yes.
Yes. Do you know why the geese were angry?
Because they went near
Somebody.
nest.
And she was protecting her eggs. She was Mama Goose. Very good, yes. So I have a tricky question for you. So you know the deer was big, right? He was big and brown. Why did he run away from the dogs?
The deer don't stay near different animals because some animals eat deer.
That's very true. So the deer
So, and the deer that the dogs will eat them.
could be.
And they don't even let people go near them because people kill deers.
That's true. So that's very true. It just didn't want to be near the dogs. It just ran away, right?
Uh-oh. My enemy's coming away.
That's right. Very good. And then what about the goose? The goose is smaller than a deer. So how come the goose didn't fly away?
Because the goose was angry and the goose could fight. Like for a dog, for an animal to the deep ocean,
Yeah.
because it could fly over the ocean.
It's true, but you know what? It was also protecting its nest.
Yeah, and
Yes.
the mama. And some animals, like eagles, eat eggs.
Oh, yes, that's true. So
And
the dog,
raptors.
that's right. And so the goose didn't know, right? That maybe the dogs would eat her eggs. She didn't want that.
She knows all animals that have eggs know which what egg. They don't know which egg. They know some animals have, but they don't know, and they don't know the what animal.
But they have to protect their eggs, right?
Yeah, no matter if another goose comes, they still attack. Because some gooses like taking eggs.
That's true. Some could. So last question. Last question.
Real one.
So how do you think the dogs were exploring the woods?
Because they never been to woods.
What were they using? What senses do you think they were using?
Smelly and listening.
Very good. Very, very good. That's right. And
especially at the end, they'll use it for listening. But for the owner, and they were sniffing out where they
Charlie, Sophie, where are you?
and they were listening and smelling.
And yeah.
If whoever didn't yell, then they can just sniff a little bit. Because they can sniff where they've been, and then they sniff over back.
Wow, see, you were just paying such good attention. Thank you. So what did you think? Did you like hearing about Charlie and Sophie? Oh, good. Well, I'm so glad you came.
I like hearing facts about animals.
Yes, and you know a lot too,
What
which
was
is
your favorite
great.
animal? What? In the book, what was your favorite animal in the book?
All of them.
I think you like making the goose sound the most.
Yes, that was fun, wasn't it?
Honk, honk.
Well,
Honk, honk.
good. Well, I'm so glad you came and you listened to my story. So thank you.